say what I want my legacy to be, you know, what I want people to say when I'm long gone. I want people to look at me as a full-on entertainer and a good person. So, you know, we'll talk a few years down the line and we'll see where my head is at then, but that's what I want for right now.
I just know that was a murder. You know what I'm saying? That was a spiritual murder, whether people know it or not. Because God can still see. You know what I'm saying? Whether people know it or not. I could go deeper. A lot of people I would have to really bring proof. You know what I'm saying? For what I learned. And she just was cut down in the prime of her life. And it's so unfair. And
Mary J. Blige has exposed some dark secrets about Aaliyah's death that were previously unknown to the media, and it seems like the circumstances surrounding her death were much more sinister than we've been made to believe. In a recently resurfaced interview, Mary J. Blige called Aaliyah's death a spiritual murder, hinting that she was sacrificed by the industry. Meanwhile, rumors have surfaced that Jay-Z was in love with Aaliyah and tried to make her his queen, but when she refused, he decided to replace her with Beyonce in every sense of the word, which allegedly includes orchestrating an accident that took her out. People also believe Diddy played a part in this and helped cover it up. Several industry insiders have publicly denounced the story that Aaliyah's death was an accident, claiming there were much darker forces at play. But who were these darker forces? Were they the people behind what Mary J. Blige called Aaliyah's spiritual murder? What did they have to gain by taking out someone as beautiful and talented as Aaliyah? Let's find out.
That I would do it and that I could do it. And I honestly believe that no matter what anybody said. And I continued. I said, fine, you don't want me, somebody else will. And I will prove it. I will get out there and I will be a star. And I really meant it. And you have to have that frame of mind. You have to have that kind of confidence to make it in this industry or you won't make it. So I did it. And I'm very proud of the fact that I did.
Before she died, Aaliyah was on her way to becoming one of the most important music icons of her generation. She had already marked her place as the princess of R&B and was one of the most commercially successful female artists of the late 90s. But her wave of success came crashing down when, according to official reports, her plane crashed en route to Florida after filming a music video in the Bahamas. The official story seemed tragic enough, but fans did not buy it for 1 second. People believed that Aaliyah was murdered, and the plane crash story was just a cover-up because a closer look at the events leading up to the crash reveals some sinister details that don't add up. A quick trip down memory lane will help us understand why Aaliyah fans believe Aaliyah was targeted. From the moment Aaliyah rose to stardom at the tender age of 15 with the release of her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, it seems there have always been vultures circling her, waiting for the right time to swoop down. One of those vultures was R. Kelly, whom she met when she signed with Blackground Records, her uncle Barry Hankerson's record label. R. Kelly quickly became Aaliyah's mentor and colleague and even helped her produce her Age Ain't Nothing But a Number album. But it didn't stop there. He took their relationship a step further by secretly marrying her when she was 15 and he was 27. But her parents found out about the marriage, whose license listed Aaliyah's age as 18, and annulled it. Now, to any parent, a 27-year-old man preying on your baby girl might make you so mad that you at least try to get authorities involved. Not Aaliyah's parents, though. They allegedly accepted payment in rights to R. Kelly's first 3 albums in exchange for not pressing charges against him. So, it seems Aaliyah's parents basically sold her to R. Kelly. But what about her uncle, Barry Hankerson? Surely, he had to have been responsible for Aaliyah's safety since she was a minor, his niece, and his signee, right? Well, wrong. Barry Hankerson is not precisely the best person to be around. His ex-wife, Gladys Knight, described him as an evil man who tried to make their custody battle as difficult as possible after their divorce. Barry has also been described as a control freak who never let artists under him have the rights to their music. For example, singer JoJo once came out to describe her horrific experiences with Blackground Records, where they put her on a strict 500-calorie diet to keep her skinny company didn't allow her to have the rights to her music and even pushed her to alcohol and substance abuse. Toni Braxton also sued Barry for $10 million, claiming he always put his financial interests ahead of hers. So, he's just an all-around shady guy. 4 days before Aaliyah went to the Bahamas, Barry allegedly went to court and took out some sort of indemnity protection that stated that if either Aaliyah or any of the crew members had an accident during the trip to the Bahamas, his company would not be responsible for it. Even if nothing had happened on that trip, trying to protect himself from responsibility for any unforeseen accidents involving his signee and niece is a suspicious move. But the fact that Aaliyah got involved in a tragic accident that took her life shows that Barry likely knew something was going to go down on that trip, and he either didn't want it to be traced back to him or he didn't want to be involved in it. Either way, it is too much of a coincidence to ignore, especially because Barry and his Blackground label have benefited from Aaliyah's death. Barry was allegedly paid $90 million after Aaliyah passed away. However, that did not stop Blackground Records from withholding Aaliyah's music for over 2 decades after her death and refusing to release it to her estate. Aaliyah's estate lawyers had to engage in a bitter 20-year battle with Blackground Records to get them to release her music to streaming platforms. I mean, how selfish do you have to be to hold on to the rights to Aaliyah's music decades after her death without even trying to honor her memory? When she was alive, the one thing she always wanted to remembered as an entertainer. So, the least Barry would have done was make that possible. But no, it took dragging him to court for him to finally do the right thing. In summary, it seems like the adults in Aaliyah's life, from her parents to her uncle to her so-called mentor, failed to protect her and even groomed her and exposed her to abuse. This explains why Barry Hankerson was reportedly saying it was best to leave Aaliyah's death to God rather than investigate it. With everything he had already done to her, who knows what an investigation might have turned up? Now let's talk about the events leading up to Aaliyah's death. In this interview from August 21st, 2001, Aaliyah spoke about how she was set to start filming the video for her track, Rock the Boat, the following day, under the direction of Hype Williams, who had previously worked with Jay-Z and R. Kelly. On D-Day, August 22nd, Aaliyah was set in Miami, preparing to start filming. All important crew members were available, and a green screen had already been set up for filming all the underwater scenes and dance sequences. Out of nowhere, Hype Williams decided to move the filming to the Bahamas. This seemed strange because everything they needed to film the video successfully was already available in Miami, and Hype did not explain his sudden decision. Also, whenever Aaliyah was on set, her mother, father, or brother was usually present so that nobody could take advantage of her. But for this Bahamas trip, only Aaliyah and her crew, including hair, makeup, and security, could make the trip. On August 23rd, Aaliyah and her crew traveled to the Bahamas and wrapped up filming by August 25, so they decided to return that day. Sources revealed that there was no arrangement for transportation, and even when Lenny Kravitz sent a plaintiff for Aaliyah to use, Hype Williams took it away. This was very suspicious because Hypey hadn't made any arrangements, so why would he take away free transportation? Anyway, Aaliyah and her crew eventually got a twin-engine Cessna 402 for the trip. Now, the thing is, that type of aircraft is meant for carrying cargo, not passengers. And the pilot, Luis Morales, knew that the plane was not meant for carrying passengers. The charter pilot, Louis Key, would later reveal that he heard Morales and the rest of the crew arguing about whether or not they should get on the plane because between the crew members and all their baggage, there would be too much weight on the plane for a safe flight. Also, the plane was much smaller than the one they had arrived with. It would also turn out that the pilot, Morales, was a crook with a criminal record whose license had been suspended. He had forged the paperwork that got him the job, and toxicology reports noted high levels of cocaine in his system. The flight was simply a disaster, waiting to happen. Investigation later revealed that Aaliyah didn't want to get on that plane. She reportedly complained about having a headache before the plane's arrival. Aaliyah's ex, Dame Dash, would later explain that he had told Aaliyah not to go on that trip because she was afraid of flying, so it wasn't a surprise she felt ill before the flight. Allegedly, when she complained of the headache, one of the crew members gave her a sleeping pill that knocked her out, and she had not woken up by the time the plane arrived. So they basically had to carry her inside the plane while she was unconscious. They knew she wouldn't have gotten on that flight if she had been awake and knew all the problems. But they put her on it, and barely 1 minute into the flight, the plane crashed and caught fire about 200 feet from the runway, killing Aaliyah and the 8 other passengers. If this account of events is true, then so many people should have been held responsible for the plane crash. For example, why did Hype not allow her to use Lenny Kravitz's bigger plane? Why did Barry Hankerson not ensure Aaliyah would be well protected during the trip? Why didn't they let her family members go with her? Putting 2 and 2 together, it seems like several people plotted to make sure Aaliyah got on that plane that was doomed even before it took off. Could one of these people be Jay-Z? There have been rumors that Aaliyah was an industry sacrifice. Some people believe that as Aaliyah rose to stardom, she became seen as a valuable asset to the powers that be in Hollywood, who made it Jay-Z's duty to bring her into the fold. This seems like a stretch, or at worst, a bunch of conspiracies. But the coincidences are just too much to ignore. Industry insiders like Jaguar Wright believe Jay had a lot to gain from Aaliyah's death, so he might have been part of the people who allegedly orchestrated it. According to Jaguar Wright, Jay was in love with Aaliyah, and he wanted to make her his queen. But when she chose Dame Dash over him, he got mad and allegedly decided to throw Dame under the bus. Speaking of which, Jay-Z is also one of the industry men who allegedly groomed Aaliyah. They were spotted in various industry events together, and you have to remember that Aaliyah was barely an adult through all this. And it is unsurprising Jay-Z went after her, because even Beyonce, whom he later married, is younger than him by 15 years. Jay-Z denied dating Aaliyah, but according to Dame, it wasn't for lack of trying. Dame believed the only reason why Jay couldn't get with Aaliyah was that Aaliyah was the kind of girl who knew how to friend-zone guys while maintaining a platonic relationship with them. I mean, given all the predators surrounding her, no wonder she had to develop a skill like that. Jaguar also said that Beyonce's solo career only took off after Aaliyah died. She pointed out that it was weird that when Aaliyah died, Jay-Z poached Amerie's producer, Rish Harrison, because Amerie was another female artist, giving Beyonce a run for her money. Just like that, Beyonce found herself ahead of her peers. Interestingly, Beyonce and Jay-Z would later have their music video for Drunken Love, directed by Hype Williams. The same guy sent Aaliyah to the Bahamas without adequate protection. Also, the opening scene of the video shows Beyonce carrying a trophy with a female figure, which fans have interpreted to mean Beyonce celebrating her triumph over her competitors. Sources have also noted that Aaliyah and Beyonce used to be friends. In 2001, Beyonce interviewed Aaliyah at the 2001 MTV Movie Awards, looking starstruck. They were friends, and Beyonce looked up to Aaliyah in many ways. But less than a year later, Aaliyah was gone, and Beyonce started to take her place. Before Aaliyah passed away, she was a model, singer, dancer, and actress. Everything Beyonce was or wanted to be. She was also very kind, beautiful, and an all-round lovely person to be around. One of those people that are almost too good to be true. In an interview she did in Paris just weeks before she died, Aaliyah shared a recurring dream she had been having. It's dark in my favorite dream. Someone is after me. I don't know why. I get fear. Then suddenly I lift off. I fly away, far away. How do I feel now? It is like swimming in the air, free and without any weight. No one can reach me. No one can touch me. It is a wonderful feeling. It seems as though Aaliyah was foreshadowing her death, like she knew something was going to happen to her soon. Some of the projects she worked on before she passed away had clues that hinted at the turmoil in her personal life. In her track, Never No More, some lines said, "I thought I lost you. When you twist back my arm, 'cause the man I thought I knew wouldn't do me no harm, I promised myself you wouldn't put your hands on me again." She was only 21 when she released this track, and there was no reason why a 21-year-old should be referencing an abusive relationship. Another clue is Queen of the Damned, a movie she repeatedly talked about how much she enjoyed working on, which heavily mirrored how evil and abusive the music industry can be. Then, there was the fact that Aaliyah was recording a song called Time before she passed away, where she talked about not having enough time to do everything she wanted to do. Unfortunately, she died before she finished recording that song. These all seem to point to the fact that Aaliyah knew something sinister was happening behind the scenes, and that some people were after her life. Could these people have been Jay-Z and his associates who wanted Aaliyah gone so they could replace her with Beyonce? Well, check this out. In his song Glory, Jay-Z talked about his wife, Beyonce, and how childbirth and a previous miscarriage were hard on her, but she shined through. He also gushed about his newborn daughter, Blue Ivy, calling her his greatest creation. It's all nice and cute until you listen to the end of the song, where Jay-Z attempts to warn his daughter to be careful by referencing Aaliyah's death. The lines go, "Just make sure the plane you on is bigger than your carry-on baggage." Blue Ivy was born just 10 days before the Glory track was released. So, although it seems like just a father fearing for his child's safety, we have to admit that warning your infant daughter about dying tragically in a plane crash is a bit weird. There were 1,001 other options available for Jay-Z to use in warning his daughter about the dangers of living the fast life. Why did he choose to use an example involving a young woman who died tragically? Because everyone around her sat back and let her get on a plane that was a disaster waiting to happen. It is not adding up. Things got even crazier when an interview with Mary J. Blige resurfaced, where she referred to Aaliyah's death as a spiritual murder, claiming she shouldn't have gone that way when she was in the prime of her life. Mary believed that it was not Aaliyah's time to go, and people cut her down on purpose. This is, however, not the only time Mary has expressed her suspicions about how Aaliyah died. In 2006, Mary appeared on a now-deleted episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show, where she talked about Aaliyah's accident. She said, "My life was her life. She was surrounded by people who weren't telling her the real deal. We weren't close friends, but I'd talked with her a couple of times. I very well could have been the woman on that plane." But Mary never did say what she meant by calling Aaliyah's death a spiritual murder, and we may never know why she said that. However, many people believe that the industry sacrificed Aaliyah, and that if there is ever a reinvestigation into her death, the people who most benefited from it should be looked at, like Jay-Z and Beyonce. People believe the only reason why Beyonce made it to the top is Aaliyah's death. One person said, "I love Beyonce, but if we're being completely honest, the only reason why she reached this level as a solo artist is because Aaliyah was killed." Was Aaliyah passed around the music, rap industry, then killed to silence her for not wanting to participate in the rituals anymore? Name the names. Jay-Z has a hand in killing Aaliyah and made Beyonce into what Aaliyah would have been, and you can't change my mind. Now, whether Beyonce was in on it or she was entirely in the dark, we'll never know, but it is certainly something to think about. And that's it for today. See you in the next video.